Group ID, 7941333930 crossing the Douluo Continent, becoming the grandson of the Kendo Dust Heart, awakening the god of killing system. With continuous killing, one can enhance their soul power. That year, the elder of the Seven Treasures Glass sect took him to the Starry Forest to obtain the first soul ring. However, due to the negligence of his elders, Chen Chuan was taken by others to the killing capital known as the Paradise of Death. 13 years passed in a blink of an eye, and after enduring countless hardships, Chen Chuan finally broke through to the realm of the title Douluo, broke through the capital of slaughter, and returned to his own world. At this time, the mainland had already changed, and all of its former friends had died young. The swordsmanship Dust Heart was even more gray-haired. Tang-san. I didn't expect you to kill so heavily. You have a way to take death. Blocker, die. P.S. Decisive Assassination, and The Virgin Mary, keywords of the novel. Douluo. The Return of the God of Killing, shocked at the beginning. Ning Rongrong no pop-ups, Douluo. The Return of the God of Killing, shocked at the beginning. Ning Rongrong complete collection download. Douluo. The Return of the God of Killing, shocked at the beginning. Ning Rongrong latest chapter reading. Chapter 1. The Return of God Killing shocked Ning Rongrong, new book for collection. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1. The Return of God Killing shocked Ning Rongrong, new book for collection, Douluo Continent. 7 Treasure Glass Sect. The originally azure sky suddenly became thunderous, with several bronze sky thunder rays piercing through the silent sky like dragons and snakes, emitting bursts of explosive sounds. A pouring rain poured down. 7 Treasure Glass Sect, I have finally returned. The cold voice sounded as leisurely as the arrival of death. The young man, dressed in a black robe and wearing a bamboo hat, stared coldly at the towering ancient tower in the distance. He immediately jumped down from the city wall, and the falling raindrops transformed into steam around him. The young man's name is Chen Chuan, the inheritor of the 7-kill sword lineage, and he is also the grandson of the current sword Douluo Qinshin. 13 years ago, when Chen Chuan awakened his martial soul, he awakened his rare innate full soul power. However, he unexpectedly disappeared during a journey to obtain a soul ring. After learning about this, Sword Douluo Chen immediately led half of the disciples of the 7 Treasures Glass sect to search deep in the Star Do Forest, but in the end, it was in vain. The leader of the 7 Treasures Glass sect, Ning Fengzhi, teamed up with members of the imperial family of the Heavenly Do Empire to search again in the Star Do Forest, but there was no news. Only a piece of Chen Chuan's clothes was found in the feces of the soul beast. From then on, everyone believed he was dead. Even Kendo Qinshin lost her last hope. However, what they didn't know was that Chen Chuan didn't die, but was taken to the capital of slaughter by a powerful soul warrior. For 13 years, Chen Chuan's life can be said to be full of ups and downs. Not only do we have to endure the pursuit of those fugitives every day, but we also have to participate in competitions in the capital of slaughter. Later, due to Chen Chuan's outstanding performance, the King of Slaughter made an exception and recruited him as a disciple, not only helping him improve his strength, but also helping him hunt high-level soul beasts when he needed soul rings. Until one breaks through the realm of title Douluo through all the hardships, one can successfully obtain the realm of killing gods and leave that damn place. For 13 years, things have changed and people have changed. How many 13 years can one have in life? Bold, who are you? How dare you trespass on the 7 Treasures Glass sect without permission? If you want to die. The disciples of the 7 Treasures Glass sect, dressed in uniform robes, rushed forward quickly when they saw someone breaking into the city and aimed their spears at the person in front of them. Clear raindrops fell on the sharp spear, casting a cold light. Similarly, the rain indirectly obscured their vision, without knowing who the person in front of them was, only knowing that their aura was extremely terrifying. Chen Chuan's voice was calm and majestic, and he said, "My seed is called Chen Chuan. I want to meet the head of the Seven Treasures Glass sect, Ning Fengzhi. Do you want to see the sect leader? The disciples of the Seven Treasures Glass sect looked at each other and immediately mocked each other, saying, "Kid, lying doesn't mean finding a suitable excuse. You're really laughing at me when you say your name is Qinchuan. Today, only our Seven Treasures Glass sect elder, Jiandao Qinxin, is surnamed Chen. And as the world knows, there is only one person surnamed Chen. If you want to establish this relationship, I think you have come to the wrong place." One of the disciples said with sarcasm in his eyes, "Those who are sensible should leave here quickly, otherwise, you should understand the cost of offending the upper three schools." Qinchuan furrowed his brows. If it were in the capital of slaughter, these few people in front of him would have already separated their bodies. However, this place is still one's own home, so killing them naturally won't bring any benefits. What happened? The noise and commotion. At this moment, a crisp sound rang out not far away. Qinchuan raised her head and looked around, only to see a beautiful girl holding an oil paper umbrella, stepping on the water flow on the bluestone road, and walking quickly over. The girl's simple white long dress gives a very clean feeling, with sharp, ear-length short hair, tender skin like lychees, exquisite appearance, and a height of about 1.65 meters. Her figure is very symmetrical, and her temperament is noble and extraordinary. It looks like a highly educated aristocratic girl, like a warm spring breeze, with a gentle smile infecting everyone around her. After seeing the newcomer, the disciples of the Seven Treasures Glass sect first had a slightly distorted expression, but due to their status, they still bowed and said, "Goodbye, Mississippi." This girl is none other than Ning Rongrong, the daughter of the head of the Seven Treasures Glass sect, Ning Fengzhi, who is known as the Little Witch. She is also the little princess that Kendo Qinxin and Douluo Continent love the most. Ning Rongrong nodded and asked, "Did something happen?" "Report back to Miss, someone has trespassed on the Seven Treasures Glass sect and even claimed to be a member of Elder Qinxin's clan." Upon hearing this, Ning Rongrong couldn't help but lift his proud head and gazed up and down at the black-robed man in front of him with jewel-like eyes. Especially when he saw the rain disappearing around the man's body, he realized that the newcomer had great strength. As the little princess of the Seven Treasures Glass sect, Ning Rongrong can be said to be a genius and stunning. She has been this clever ghost since childhood, and naturally can see the strength of the person's realm in front of her. "You said your surname is Chen. I have been with Grandpa Jian for so long and have never heard of him having an heir. If you don't want to offend the Seven Treasures and Glass sect, please leave here as soon as possible." Although Ning Rongrong may not be able to guess the other person's cultivation, this is her home. Her two grandfathers are in a room not far away. If the other person dares to take action, she only needs to shout out, and the two grandfathers can come and kill her. However, seeing the other person unmoved, Ning Rongrong couldn't help but frown slightly. "Since your excellency is unwilling to leave, don't blame me for being impolite." As soon as he finished speaking, Ning Rongrong quietly waved his right hand, and a silent sleeve arrow stained with poison suddenly shot out. Qinchuan's gaze was cold, his right index finger twitched slightly, and a cold wave of air broke the sleeve arrow that was flying towards him. Looking at the girl in front of him, Qinchuan murmured to himself, "Is this the little devil Ning Rongrong?" As a traveler, he naturally knew Ning Rongrong's personality, and the previous one should have been a hidden weapon of the Tang clan, the silent sleeve sword. At this moment, Qinchuan also did not intend to continue talking nonsense, and immediately stepped heavily on the ground with his right foot. A loud roar rang out. The surging soul power spread wildly towards the surroundings like stormy waves, and wherever it passed, all the 10 meters of rainwater around the body stood still, as if frozen in place. At the same time, soul rings symbolizing status and strength quietly lit up. Yellow, yellow, purple, purple, it turned out to be a small soul sect, and I thought it was some strong person coming, which scared me to death. Upon seeing the rise of the latter's 4 soul rings, Ning Rongrong let go of his suspended heart and lightly tapped his underdeveloped chest with his small hand. There are not only 1,000 but also 800 soul masters of this level in the Seven Treasures Glass sect. But the next scene made the young lady feel deeply shocked. Immediately after, one soul ring after another emerged from under his feet. Black and black, a soul ring that lasts for thousands of years, a soul emperor. The disciple of the Seven Treasures Glass sect swallowed his dry tongue, and his tightly clenched spear trembled at this moment. In his eyes, besides fear, he was also shocked. Ning Rongrong frowned slightly and said indifferently, "Your Excellency is just a first-order Soul Emperor powerhouse. If there were only such." But instead of waiting for Ning Rongrong to finish speaking, another soul ring quietly lit up. Black, another black. 7 soul rings, Holy Soul Realm. End of this chapter. Chapter 2. Grandpa. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2. Grandpa. Under the stunned gaze of everyone, the remaining 2 soul rings had also been revealed. However, this time they were not shocked at all, instead they looked frightened. The last 2 rays of light completely refreshed everyone's cognition, because they were red. Ning Rongrong's lips kept trembling, his voice intermittent. 100,000. 100,000 years. Soul ring. She uttered this sentence with almost all her strength, her legs flaccid, and at the same time, she couldn't control her body, instantly collapsing on the ground. In her understanding, the strong ones with 100,000-year soul rings in the entire Douluo Continent are as rare as a phoenix, and even Sword Grandpa and Bone Grandpa are only 10,000-year soul rings in the end. At the moment when the 9th soul ring appeared on Qinchuan's body, time seemed to come to a standstill, and of course, those people were also stunned in the same place. They didn't want to believe it was true and tried to rub their eyes, but the dazzling red light still surprised everyone. This is not a dream, nor is it dizziness, it's all true. A 100,000-year soul ring that truly exists. At this moment, Ning Rongrong was just a soul lord in her 30s, and feeling the terrifying soul power emanating from the latter made her feel suffocated. On its right hand, there appeared a long sword with a murderous aura. The sword is 4 feet and 3 inches long, 3 inches wide, and the handle is 1 foot and 2 inches long. It is a crystal-carved long sword with a clear blue body. It's really the 7-kill sword. Ning Rongrong lifted her head with difficulty, and under this pressure, she and the disciples of the Seven Treasures Glass sect could only lie on the cold ground. Seeing the martial soul in Qinchuan's palm, she realized that the other party had not deceived her. "What kind of person are you from Grandpa's sword?" Qinchuan glanced at the few people lying on the ground, and then coldly withdrew the pressure he had released. Ning Rongrong's noble demeanor has long since disappeared, leaving only fear and timidity towards the person in front of him. The smell just now was like a towering mountain, making her bones crackle, as if she could die at any time under this amazing deterrent force. Ning Rongrong got up, disregarding his dirty and messy clothes, and respectfully bowed with an arch, young generation. "Ning Rongrong, I have seen a senior." At this point, Ning Rongrong was already a student at Shrek College. In the original plot, she gave up her position as a young lady, but her inherent pride still made her unwilling to lower her head so easily. At this moment, 3 figures appeared out of thin air next to Ning Rongrong. The leader is a middle-aged man with a jade-like face, a straight nose, and a square mouth. The man looks around 40 years old, with a refined and gentle appearance, and a spotless white robe. His gaze was gentle, and he looked like an ordinary person no matter how he looked. Beside him stood 2 elderly men. One of them was dressed in a spotless snow-white robe, with white beard and hair. His silver long hair was neatly combed behind his back, and his appearance was ancient and simple. His face was as delicate as a baby's, and his expression was very indifferent. His eyes seemed to be unable to see anything around him. Standing there still gives people a feeling of everything in heaven and earth, being exclusive to oneself. But the other person had a withered face, dry muscles and skin, and deep sunken eye sockets. The physique is not as muscular and robust as it is, but the entire body skeleton is astonishingly large, and clothes seem to be completely supported by bones. It is Ning Fengzhi, the leader of the Seven Treasures Glass sect, and the two swordsmen who have reached the strength of the title Douluo, the sword Dust Heart and the bone Douluo Ancient Rong. Dad, when Ning Rongrong saw the visitor, he immediately ran over, his eyes unconsciously misting with water. Jiandao Qinshin's eagle-like gaze stared fixedly at the martial soul in Qinchuan's palm, and his voice hoarsely asked, "Who the hell are you? Why do you have the 7-kill sword martial soul?" He, Grandpa Jian is really old, he has forgotten about me. Qinchuan slowly took off his hat from the top of his head, revealing his delicate cheeks and long white hair that resembled the arrival of death. Years of slaughter have already led to a depletion of his spiritual power, and he also turned pale overnight after passing through the path of hell. "Are you, Chuaner?" Kendo Qinshin murmured as tears flickered in his eyes. Looking at the old man with white hair in front of him, Qinchuan silently nodded and bowed, "Grandpa, I'm back." "Chuaner, is it really you?" Kendo Qinshin couldn't believe his eyes and looked at Qinchuan in front of him with great excitement, then asked. "It's really you." At this moment, Qinshin couldn't suppress the pain in her heart again. Tears welled up in her eyes, and she quickly walked forward, tightly hugging Qinchuan's shoulder, tears streaming down her face. Even Gu Rong and Ning Fengzhi unconsciously froze in place, and the little creature in front of them appeared as if it were from another world. Gu Rong, who had never shed tears for many years, couldn't help but wet her eyes. She trembled and walked forward, gently stroking Qinchuan's silver-white long hair. "Chuaner, you're really still alive. Grandpa Bone, haven't seen you in 13 years, you've aged a lot." Qinchuan raised his head and looked at Gu Douluo in front of him, saying with a smile. Gu Rong smiled and said, "Time has passed, and now it is already a world of vicissitudes." At this moment, Kendo Qinshin could no longer bear the restlessness in his heart. He pulled Qinchuan back to the main hall of the Seven Treasures Glass sect and immediately asked, "Chuaner, is it really you? Tell me quickly where you have been all these years, and what has happened. Since you're still alive, why don't you return to your sect?" Qinchuan gave a bitter smile. If he could come back, how could he possibly live for 13 years in that world full of slaughter and violence? Sitting on the chair, Qinchuan did not conceal anything and told everything that had happened. Upon hearing this, Chen Xian and Gu Rong felt a deep pain for him. They didn't expect Chuaner to have experienced so many things in these 13 years. Killing every day. Although he became a disciple of the King of Slaughter, he had to endure more pursuit from the strong. Only in this way can one truly transform into a true powerhouse. Chen Xian's eyes were filled with tears and he said, "Chuaner, you have been working hard for so many years. Grandpa is sorry for letting you suffer. The 7-kill sword lineage now only has the 2 of them alive, and Qinshin has never been able to forgive what she did back then. If I had followed him to the Star Forest, such a situation would not have occurred." Qinchuan also shook his head. Years of slaughter have allowed him to break through the 95-level title Douluo, and he possesses an unimaginable 100,000-year soul ring. Looking at the entire Douluo Continent, there are no people who can possess 2 100,000-year soul rings. Ning Fengzhi immediately spoke up and said, "Chuaner, you have been working hard for so many years. If you want anything, tell your uncle, and he will definitely not refuse." As an elder who watched Qinchuan grow up, Ning Fengzhi highly valued Qinchuan back then. Unfortunately, when the latter unexpectedly disappeared at the age of 6, his heart was also twisted. End of this chapter. Chapter 3. Ning Rongrong's Apology, Seeking Collection, Seeking Follow-up Reading. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3. Ning Rongrong's Apology, Seeking Collection, Seeking Follow-up Reading. "No, I need to take a break." Qinchuan spoke up and refused. The continuous rush also made Qinchuan physically and mentally exhausted. Now he just wants to rest well, and it's not too late to talk about other things tomorrow. Ning Fengzhi nodded slightly and immediately arranged for someone to prepare a room for Qin Chuan to rest, and also arranged for someone to cook some food. If there is anything else, let's talk tomorrow. Jiandao Qinxin originally wanted to speak, but when he thought of Chuaner's experience over the past decade, as a grandfather, he couldn't help Chuaner in any way, which was also heartbreaking. We can only compensate him in the future. In the spacious room, the candles were bright and red silk hung all around the house. The two brass incense burners by the bed emitted a faint fragrance, as well as a hint of mist. Qin Chuan, dressed in a blood robe, is sitting cross-legged. As thoughts flickered, a blue character panel suddenly appeared in front of me. System name. Kill God name. Qin Chuan martial soul. 7 kill sword, ultimate martial soul, soul power. Level 95 soul ring. Yellow yellow purple purple black 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 red red soul bone. Full domain. God killing domain, 7 killing domain total number of murders. 25801 people. Looking at the people he had killed over the years, Qin Chuan showed no mercy, but instead a hint of coldness appeared on his delicate cheek. This world is inherently a world of the fittest, where the strong are the most respected. To survive, one relies not only on strength, but also on one's state of mind. Moreover, in the killing capital of the Sin Park, if you don't kill him, he will not hesitate to cut off your head. If you want to be the Virgin Mary, let's have another life. The next morning, the golden rooster crowed. After completing his cultivation, Qin Chuan arrived at the main hall. At this time, Jiandao Qinxin had been waiting for a long time. Seeing that this was not a dream, he also showed a long-lost smile. Chuaner, how are you resting? It's okay. Qin Chuan responded, perhaps due to prolonged loneliness, his voice was slightly indifferent. This is also quite normal. May I ask all of you here, after killing so many people, who can still maintain that innocent appearance? At this moment, Ning Fengzhi strode over with his precious daughter and said, Rongrong, I apologize to your brother Chuan. I haven't apologized for what happened last night yet, so the next morning, Ning Fengzhi brought Ning Rongrong to this place and personally apologized to Qin Chuan. Ning Rongrong looked at Ning Fengzhi with some grievances. He didn't do anything yesterday, why apologize? And Dean Frand once taught that a soul master who doesn't cause trouble is not a good soul master. Ning Fengzhi was not moved when he saw Ning Rongrong, and his eyebrows couldn't help but twist together. He immediately scolded and shouted, Rongrong, why are you becoming increasingly disobedient? Ning Rongrong, with tears in his eyes, turned to Grandpa Jian. Grandpa, who was always obedient to her, turned his head away at this moment, which shows that he also blamed Rongrong for yesterday's actions. Gu Rong hesitated and said, Fengzhi, Rongrong is still young. Besides, yesterday she spoke rudely to protect the sect. Don't scare her. Ning Rongrong seemed to have grabbed a life-saving straw and quickly ran to Grandpa Bone, tears in his eyes, saying, Grandpa Bone, be good. Gu Rong rubbed Ning Rongrong's head and said, apologize to Chuaner. Today's matter is over. Ning Rongrong felt a pang of pain in her heart, not understanding why her two grandfathers, who were obedient to her yesterday, seemed to have changed people today, making her doubt whether she was still dreaming. Jiandao Qinxin remained expressionless and said calmly, Rongrong, Chuaner is your brother, and yesterday you attacked him with a silent sleeve sword full of poison. You know, if the poison on it is even stronger, even the soul saint cannot resist it. Moreover, at that time, Ning Rongrong did not know the opponent's strength and rashly used hidden weapons, which was definitely not a wise choice. If the other party is a friend who happens to be unable to withstand the power of the silent sleeve sword, wouldn't it be like dying on the spot? Not long ago, the swordsmanship Dust Heart tasted the toxins of hidden weapons. If it weren't for reaching the level of title Douluo, it wouldn't be easy to expel the toxins that had been infused into the blood. Ning Rongrong's eyes turned red, and finally, under everyone's gaze, he arched his hand towards Qin Chuan and said, I'm sorry, Brother Chuan. It was Rongrong who was wrong before. Rongrong apologizes to you here. Chen Chuan waved his hand uninteresting and whispered, forget it, I haven't reached that level of pedantry yet. The rest of the people breathed a sigh of relief. Chen Chuan is now in the realm of Douluo, and with the relationship of Jiandao Qinxin, if it were to break away from the Seven Treasures Glass sect as a result, the sect's strength would definitely be greatly reduced. Moreover, the relationship between Gu Douluo and Jian Douluo is extremely close. If the other party leaves the Seven Treasures and Glass sect, there is a high chance that they will leave together. So as the leader of the sect, Ning Fengzhi naturally did not want to see the scene of the other party tearing apart their face from the sect. Jiandao Qinxin heard that Chuaner had forgiven Rongrong, and his originally tense cheeks relaxed. He gently caressed Ning Rongrong's cheek and said gently, Rongrong, your Chuan brother has suffered a lot outside. Now that you are back, you must put aside your Mrs. temper and not be arrogant. Do you understand? Rongrong understands now. Ning Rongrong pursed his green lips and nodded, saying, Uncle Jian, as you can see, Rongrong is sincerely apologizing. Please spare her this time. Ning Fengzhi looked politely at Jian Douluo. The two elders treated Rongrong as a treasure, but don't forget that it was because they didn't have any offspring themselves. After finally having a grandson and losing him for 13 years, Kendo Qinxin naturally couldn't put his original love on Ning Rongrong anymore. Blood is thicker than water, and family affection cannot be compared. Kendo Qinxin, with one hand behind her, said calmly, Rongrong, don't use that so-called hidden weapon anymore. I thought it was a good thing, but now it seems that the maker is not a good thing either. At this moment, Qinxin still had lingering palpitations in his heart. If Chuaner only had the soul sect realm, wouldn't he have died in Rongrong's hidden weapon? The thing made by such a small person cannot be used anymore. Chen Chuan then spoke up and said, forget it, Grandpa. Since Rongrong likes it, let her use it well. Although the silent sleeve sword is good, the maker is not really a good thing. Chuaner is right. Ning Fengzhi nodded in agreement and threw the insinuations he had obtained from the previous auction into the nearby pool. Ning Rongrong said nothing when he saw the situation. If third brother saw him, he would definitely be very sad. Chen Chuan sat on a chair and took out a cup of fiery and Bloody Mary from his soul guide. The faint smell also refreshed him. For others, this kind of thing is undoubtedly not drinking poison to quench thirst. However, for the god-slaying Chen Chuan, this is simply a miraculous cure. Being able to break through the status quo of Douluo in a short period of time is closely related to Bloody Mary. End of this chapter. Chapter 4. Tang San Xiao Wu. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4 Tang San Xiao Wu. Kendo Qinxin looked at the Bloody Mary in Qinchuan's hand, his old eyes slightly furrowed, and said, Chuaner, how did you bring this kind of thing back from the capital of slaughter? The rest of them forgot their gaze and looked at the liquid flowing like magma in Chuaner's hand, their expressions full of surprise. For those disciples, they didn't know what it was, but for those titled Douluo realm and Ning Fengzhi, one of the upper three sects, they were all too familiar. Bloody Mary is actually a type of human blood, extracted from the blood of others after killing, which is why it is red. Bloody Mary is considered a common drink in the capital of slaughter, and it is also a symbol of terror in the capital of slaughter. However, this kind of thing often makes people more violent, often slaughtering innocent people due to some unpleasant situation. Qinchuan replied, I'm used to it, and besides, this kind of thing is a supplement for me. Can. Qinxin was about to speak, but when she looked at Chuaner's red pupils, she hesitated and could only sit back in her seat. Less than half a year has passed since the elite competition of the Advanced Soul Master Academy across the mainland, and now Ning Rongrong has returned to this place to show off her growth over the past year. Unexpectedly, not only did she meet her brother whom she had never met before, but she also became the laughing stock of the family, disappointing Grandpa Jian and Grandpa Bone. Ning Rongrong lowered his head in disappointment and then whispered, "Dad, I'm going back to the college first." "The matter with third brother? Let's put it aside for now." Ning Fengzhi waved his hand, gesturing for Rongrong not to mention the hidden weapon again. "But didn't you say you planned to go see Shrek College with me?" Ning Rongrong was in tears, holding Ning Fengzhi's wrist in both hands. "I have already promised my classmates to have my father come to visit Shrek College. If Dad doesn't go, wouldn't he become a dishonest person?" Under Ning Rongrong's coquettishness, Ning Fengzhi, as the sect leader, couldn't help but frown and could only shift his gaze to Jiandao Qinshin. Yesterday, Sword Uncle wanted the boy who made hidden weapons to join the Seven Treasures Glass sect, but today it seems that this desire is not intense anymore. Qinshin, with one hand behind her, said in an extremely indifferent voice, "I'm not available here. Chuana has just returned, how can I go see a young man who is still wet and wet?" Gu Rong walked forward with a smile and hugged the latter's shoulder, saying with a smile, "Old man, why are you playing with a child's temper here again? You're just a child. It's okay to go see him." "Humph." Jiandao Qinshin snorted coldly and turned to look at Qinchuan, asking, "Chuaner, what do you think?" "Since I have already agreed to the other party, I will naturally go and take a look." Qinchuan drank the Bloody Mary from the cup in one gulp, and his pupils turned completely pale red. The murderous aura on his whole body spread like a raging wave towards all sides. Even Jiandao Qinshin, who was a titled Douluo, unconsciously took a step back in front of this astonishing killing aura. What a terrifying killing intent! Like a god of slaughter descending. With a gaze that looked down at the world, Chen Chuan slowly stood up and regained the released murderous energy in his body. Sweat soaked many people's clothes, and even Ning Fengzhi unconsciously left behind sweat. It is not difficult to see from here how much the other party's murderous aura has reached. Even if you don't take action, you can kill most of the enemies here. Let's go. Chen Chuan took a step forward with his right foot, and his figure flickered at this moment. In an instant, he disappeared into place, leaving only the bewildered crowd. Tiendo Empire, Shrek Academy. At this moment, a competition is taking place in the college, and a teenager in his teens is half kneeling on the ground with a painful expression. Surprisingly, behind this young man, at some point, a skeleton resembling spider legs grew. As the bones crackled, sweat couldn't help but wet the cheeks. The people around him who were watching the excitement were all in a cold sweat, afraid that the young man would not be able to resist the soul power pressure of the Soul Douluo powerhouse. Just as everyone thought the boy was about to lose his grip, a special blue hammer suddenly appeared in everyone's sight. Is this the Haotian hammer? The tall old man's pupils suddenly shrank, and he, who was about to speak, was suddenly hit by a vast and boundless wave of air. Without time to react, he was pushed back tens of meters away. The disciple of Shrek Academy quickly turned his head and exclaimed in surprise, "Glory!" The speaker is a girl who looks only 12 or 3 years old. The girl has a petite and symmetrical figure, with black hair neatly draped behind her head, and her delicate features adorned her pink face are so exquisite. She perfectly inherited all the advantages of a beautiful woman, but added a touch of liveliness and ancient spirit. When the big black eyes blinked, the long eyelashes trembled slightly. Ning Rongrong grabbed Ning Fengzhi's wrist, blinked at Xiao Wu's position, and then looked at his father beside him and said, "Dad, this is the third brother." Ning Fengzhi nodded slightly, but for the sake of face, he still released his martial soul, the 7 treasures glass pagoda. 7 treasures are famous, and 6 say, increase. At this moment, 7 dazzling streams of light descended from the sky, sweeping across Tang San's body like rainbow colors. A strong and powerful voice echoed from all directions, "Old chimpanzee, bullying children is not a skill. It's been a long time since we last saw each other. Let's come and compare." Gu Douluo appeared here out of thin air, and his aura almost simultaneously intimidated the soul power here. Titan, the god of Hercules, frowned and withdrew the pressure he had just released. He smiled and said, "Who should I be?" It turns out to be the two titles of Douluo, Sword Douluo, Bone Douluo, and Master Ning of the Seven Treasures and Glass Sect. I am very polite. Above the tall building, Chinchuan also turned his head, his gaze fixed on the boy sitting cross-legged and the girl with a shocked face. I believe these two people are Tang San and Xiao Wu. Xiao Wu's eyes flickered slightly as she murmured in her heart, "Why has he been staring at me all this time? Has he found my true self? No. I won't do it. Brother gave me heartbroken love, it's impossible to be discovered." Xiao Wu pursed her lips, constantly comforting herself in her heart. Chinchuan shifted his gaze back and landed steadily on the ground. He walked slowly forward, and with each step, the land beneath him seemed to be frozen, forming a thin layer of frost. When students and teachers at Shrek College were exposed to this cold air, they also felt the air around them as if it had solidified, causing them to constantly rub their shoulders. Gu Douluo walked up to the Titan with a smile and said, "Old gorilla, give your brother's face. Let's just forget about this gambling battle. Our sect leader also has a crush on this kid. Don't compete with us." End of this chapter. Chapter 5. First Meeting Ceremony, Seeking Collection, Seeking Follow-up Reading. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5 First Meeting Ceremony, Seeking Collection, Seeking Follow-up Reading. Gu Rong's words may seem like a discussion, but in reality they are a threat. Although the power family of the Titans is not small, compared to the Seven Treasures Glass Sect, one of the top 3 sects, it is simply a pipe dream. The Soul Master realm has always spoken with strength. Breaking the gambling contract certainly violates the rules of the game, but if the breaker themselves is the person who sets the rules, who would say something? Titan looked at Ning Fengzhi and shifted his gaze to Chinchuan, who had white hair and seemed like a god of killing. Who is this little brother? As soon as he comes in, he exudes a murderous aura. This is the grandson of the old man, Chinchuan. Kendo Chinshin spoke proudly, although his voice was not loud, it came to everyone's ears as if telling them how powerful his grandson was. Sun Tzu. The Titans of the Lizzie family have a strange expression, and it is rumored that the grandson of Kendo Chinshin had already died 13 years ago. Now that it has reappeared, it seems that the rumors are not true. Titan took a step forward and said with a strong voice, "It has long been rumored that Sword Douluo's grandson is a genius of the heavenly zone. At the age of 6, he was born with full soul power, but unfortunately he died young. Now it seems that the rumors are not reliable. Old gorilla, are you a bit talkative?" Jian Douluo reminded with a cold expression. Chuana has just returned from that haunted place, so naturally she doesn't want to mention this matter. Seeing Jian Douluo's gloomy face, the Titan stopped saying anything and only glanced meaningfully at Chinchuan before pointing to Tang Sandao sitting cross-legged. "I'll give you this face, but even if you don't come, this bet will come to an end." Titan smiled heartily and said, "It's really like pouring water into the Dragon King temple. A family doesn't recognize a family anymore, hee. Looking along Titan's fingers, the expressions of several people in the field also changed accordingly. Gu Rong saw the black small hammer in Tang San's hand, and Ning Fengzhi naturally saw it too. His expression was slightly unnatural, but he quickly returned to normal. The demeanor of a sect leader was not comparable to that of Gu Rong. The hammer is named Haotian, the world's first martial soul weapon. Haotian hammer, hee, I thought it was like bamboo shoots. Chinchuan was carrying a smile. Upon hearing this, Tang San, who was sitting on the ground, couldn't help but frown. He then slowly opened his eyes and met Chinchuan's eyes. Tang San suddenly felt as if his body was under control, and the pain of tearing his muscles quickly spread out. Sweat wet his clothes again, causing him to feel excruciating pain. Third brother. The other woman. Several monsters from Shrek Academy ran over and worried, "Third brother, how are you?" Tang San was convulsing with pain all over his body, lying on the ground and convulsing wildly. He could even be seen rolling his eyes, as if he had reached the peak. Xiao Wu stared angrily at Titan, thinking it was all his fault. "Old man, what did you do?" Titans are all confused, haven't they done anything? Can it be said that one's own oppression has broken any of Tang San's tendons? Don't die, it will be troublesome if you die. Qinchuan silently withdrew his murderous aura and calmly looked at everything in front of him. Are you satisfied with the first meeting gift? Tang San, who lay convulsing on the ground without any threat of killing intent, finally ended his pain just now. However, he still felt a sweet sensation in his throat, and even a mouthful of crimson blood sprayed out. Brother. Tang San waved his hand and stared intently at Qinchuan in front of him, thinking to himself, what a terrifying murderous aura. Just a touch of it made me feel the pain of my body being torn apart. Who is this person who can possess such murderous aura? Ning Fengzhi walked slowly forward and said with a smile, little friend, we've met again. How could it be you? Tang San couldn't help but be surprised. Thinking back on the man he met at the auction house, Tang San was naturally surprised and didn't expect to meet him here. It seems that he is Ning Rongrong's father, the head of the Seven Treasures Glass sect, Ning Fengzhi. A support system powerhouse standing at the top of the pyramid. Tang San struggled to get up and wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth in a somewhat disheveled manner. The purple extreme demon eyes were constantly lingering on Qinchuan's body. This person is decisive in killing and has a terrifying aura, so we have to guard against it. Tang San bowed to Ning Fengzhi and said, young Tang San, pay respects to Lord Ning. Then he transferred to the two Kendo Qinshin and said, Senior Sword Douluo, Senior Bone Douluo. After paying their respects one by one, Tang San withdrew his previous etiquette, but he did not pay his respects to Qinchuan. Seeing this, Qinshin couldn't help but frown and said with a hint of dissatisfaction, Tang San, as a junior, it's natural for you to pay respects to your elders, but my family, Chuaner, is also a senior. Why don't you pay respects? Or do you think that with your father's support, you wouldn't consider our Qin family in high regard? Since the return of Qinchuan, Kendo Qinshin has been full of confidence and understands that the Qinjia family will definitely return to its peak glory in the future. At that time, the Qin family was a well-known presence throughout the Douluo Continent, and their top-notch martial soul 7-kill sword was even more terrifying. At its peak, it was even comparable to Emperor Haotian, but unfortunately, as time passed, the descendants of the Qin family died one after another until the fall of Qinchuan's father, leaving only him and Chuan heir in the Qin family. Tang San's mouth twitched, and under the pressure of the other party, he reluctantly bowed to Qinchuan in front of him, saying, young Tang San, pay respects to the senior. Qinchuan waved his hand calmly, showing no interest in talking to the other person. Titan said with a stern face and a slightly displeased voice, Sword Douluo, sell me face. This is the master's son, and it's difficult for me to do this. Jiandao Qinshin said disdainfully, what are you, let me give you face. It's ridiculous that a mere 86-level soul Douluo still wants face in front of him, a 96-level title Douluo. He used to dislike Tang San's actions, but now he is so ignorant of etiquette and doesn't know how his father taught him. Can't we only achieve the path of death? Titan's expression was slightly unnatural. This was the first time he had suffered, and the other party didn't give him face and even made him stand in front of everyone. With a hint of anger in his voice, he said, Sword Douluo, your strength is indeed strong. Don't forget, what kind of strong person your master is. If you provoke your master, you should understand what will happen. And don't forget, the master's strength is so strong. Back then, you seem to have lost to the master. Under the resounding sound, Qinchuan's 7-kill sword was immediately pulled out and pressed against the latter's neck. He said coldly, say one more thing, die. Throat rolling. Sweat flowed down unconsciously like raindrops, and Titan's voice came to an abrupt end. There is a strong smell of gunpowder in the field. It's ridiculous to threaten the Qin family with Tang Hao. Ning Fengzhi didn't want to tear his face from the power clan. He immediately walked forward and held on to Chen Chuan's wrist, saying in a busy voice, "Chuaner, it's almost enough." End of this chapter. Chapter 6. Tang San without knowing the rights of rights, seeking collection, seeking follow-up reading. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6. Tang San without knowing the rights of rights, seeking collection, seeking follow-up reading. Chen Chuan glanced at the leader of the Seven Treasures Glass sect, Ning Fengzhi, beside him and immediately withdrew his 7-kill sword, but still slapped the Titan in the face. Titan instantly lay on the ground, the sound of tinnitus constantly appearing in his mind, and his face instantly turned red and swollen. If you dare to speak recklessly and insult the Chen family, I will annihilate your powerful clan. Although Chen Chuan's voice is very cold, it contains endless killing intent, which makes people feel hesitant to resist. Titan also lost his temper just now. If Tang Hao were here, perhaps he could still say a few words. But the other person's statement is clearly not a joke, it's better not to cause trouble. The visit of all the seniors to Shrek College has also made the college shine brightly. I am Zhao Wuji, Vice Dean of Shrek College, and I have met all the seniors. At that moment, Zhao Wuji, as Vice Dean, quickly walked over. Zhao Wuji appears to be a middle-aged man in his 50s, with an ordinary appearance and an extremely sturdy physique. Although he is not tall, he gives people a sense of grandeur. His broad shoulders were like a city wall, and his coat could not conceal his muscular physique, which was cast like steel. Although the expression on his face was gentle, his sturdy figure invisibly gave a strong sense of pressure. Titan vented all his previous anger on Zhao Wuji and stared, saying, "So it's you. I didn't expect you to hide as the Vice Dean of Shrek College. I've been looking for you for a long time, and we'll talk about that later. I need to discuss it with the young master in detail and immediately prepare a room for me." Zhao Wuji's face turned black. "What does it have to do with me that you were just beaten, but the other party's strength is too strong?" He still apologized and said, "Senior, this is reasonable. Please come in. This world is all about the jungle, where the fittest survive. Only the strong will ignore all rules and do whatever they want. And the weak will eventually have to bear everything. There is no fairness in this world. Some people are tall, some are short, some hold high and powerful positions, and some come from humble backgrounds. Fairness is just a joke." Under the leadership of Zhao Wuji, everyone came to the conference room on the 4th floor to rest. Douluo smiled and said, "Chuaner's temper has really changed. If you walk more and see more, your mood will also change. If you didn't notice it before, you will notice it. If you didn't understand it before, you will understand it. Practicing is inherently about respecting the strong." No one could accept the hardships that Chen Chuan endured back then. At the age of 6, he was taken to the capital of slaughter, and from then on, he began to kill. In order to survive in this world. There is always a saying in Chen Chuan's heart, "Why can you kill me, but I can't kill you? Kill the gods, isn't that the kind of artistic conception?" Ning Fengzhi shook his head and said with a heavy tone, "Chuaner, you are too reckless. Although the Titan only has the sole Douluo realm, behind him is the Haotian sect of the past. Offending the world's top sect is not a wise choice. Douluo Rongrong is also standing on Chuaner's side. Although it was an incident initiated by an old guerrilla, why blame Chuaner? Fengzhi, Chuaner has just returned and is already feeling down. This time, she is defending the Chen family. Why not?" Rong said calmly, "Although the Power Clan is strong, compared to our 7 Treasures Glass sect, they are still far behind. Besides, Haotian's sect has been avoiding the world for many years. What are you afraid of? Can." Ning Fengzhi was also scolded and speechless, and could only give up. Who would have thought these two were his elders? Douluo sat on a chair and took a sip of tea from the water channel, saying, "Rongrong, the third brother you mentioned doesn't seem to be a good person. Grandpa Jian, third brother doesn't usually behave like this, he actually. Forget it. Sword Douluo waved his hand, and from the conversation just now, it was not difficult to see that Tang San was extremely rebellious. Although he appeared to be respectful on the surface, there was no sign of respect in secret. Otherwise, he wouldn't be angry about it either. At that moment, the room door suddenly opened and Tang San, who had changed into clean clothes, strode in. Gu Rong and Sword Douluo Qinshin held their chests with both hands, their faces full of disdain. Ning Fengzhi drank the tea elegantly, and only then did he put down the teacup when he saw Tang San come in. Tang San bowed again with some displeasure and said, "Hello, Uncle Ning, I've kept you waiting for a long time." "It's nothing, sit down," Ning Fengzhi said with a plain expression. "Third, can I call you that?" "You are Rongrong's father, of course you can." Tang Sanzan smiled lightly. "Hehe, when I saw you today, I didn't expect you to be the son of an old friend. It's really interesting." Ning Fengzhi calmly took a sip of water and looked at Tang San in front of him. The terrifying figure couldn't help but come to mind. Tang Hao, the youngest title Douluo in the whole mainland. With just entering level 90 of soul power, he defeated the 3 major titles of Douluo in the Martial Soul Hall in one fell swoop, and thus caused the previous Pope Qinshuan to die of illness. After that incident ended, Tang Hao's figure gradually faded out of people's sight. Qinshuan also heard of Tang Hao from the mouth of the King of Slaughter. Tang Hao once broke into the capital of Slaughter, but it only took him 3 years. The main reason why Qinshuan used it for 13 years is because his strength is too weak, and every breakthrough requires hunting soul beasts to obtain soul ring configuration, which makes him not even qualified to leave the capital of Slaughter. Every time it reaches the level of hunting soul beasts, the King of Slaughter will arrange for people to personally send the highest level soul beasts, which are also absorbed by soul beasts beyond the limit of human lifespan. It seems that in the eyes of the King of Slaughter, Qinshuan is just an experimental object. If he dies, he will replace it. If alive, cultivate it to become the next King of Slaughter. Unfortunately, Qinshuan was not willing to stay in that haunted place. After obtaining the god-slaying domain, he left there. I heard that the King of Slaughter is very angry, but he cannot leave the capital of Slaughter for too long. Otherwise, with that guy's personality, he will definitely come here to find him. Qinshuan tasted the fruits on the table and said lightly, "Tang Hao is indeed powerful, but unfortunately, he ended up becoming a blacksmith. It's really a pity." Tang San squinted his eyes and frowned, saying, "Senior, does it seem that my father is a blacksmith and has nothing to do with you? Moreover, it seems that you have been targeting me all along. Do I know you?" Pop. A crisp sound. A crisp and pleasant slapping sound instantly sounded, and Tang San's weak body flew backwards like a broken kite, hitting the wall without warning. "Do you remember this time?" Qinshuan asked in reverse. Tang San's face had already turned red and swollen, with 2 missing teeth and blood flowing from the corners of his mouth, making him look extremely terrifying. End of this chapter. Chapter 7. Xiao Wu's identity exposed, seeking collection, seeking follow-up. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7. Xiao Wu's identity exposed, seeking collection, seeking follow-up. Ning Rongrong ran over anxiously and stopped in front of Tang San. With red eyes, he said, "What are you doing? Why do you want to attack third brother? You bad guy." Qinshuan ignored Ning Rongrong's insults and stared at Tang San calmly, asking, "Are you called Tang San, right? Do you remember this seat this time?" Tang Sanya clenched his teeth tightly and asked with red eyes, "Do you know the names and taboos of the senior? Kill God Douluo, Dust River." In just 6 words, Tang San seemed to see a huge ghostly figure like a killing god on the ladder. Although the ghostly figure did not move, he felt a trembling sensation all over his body. Under the cold pressure, Tang San unconsciously took 2 steps back until he pressed against the wall, finally stabilizing his body. The god of killing has descended. The world is in chaos. I remember, if I step into the title Douluo someday, I will definitely have a sparring with you. When Tang San said these words, his whole body was trembling, and his bloody eyes were even more terrifying. Just before I arrived, I saw a girl with a messy aura. She should be a soul beast that has been transformed for 100,000 years. Coincidentally, I like to keep a small animal next to me, so let her come with me. Tang San was startled in his heart and could only hear that the other party wanted to take Xiao Wu away. He immediately widened his eyes and said, "Chen Chuan, I think you are a senior, which is why you are so polite. If you want to move Xiao Wu, I will definitely not let you go." Ning Fengzhi frowned and said, "Chuaner, did you make a mistake? That girl is a soul beast, how could that be?" The transformation of soul beasts into human form is a very demanding process, which mainly depends on their cultivation years and their own strength. Once the transformation is completed, they only need to follow humans to cultivate and improve their strength, until they break through the realm of the title Douluo. As long as it is a powerful Douluo with a title, it is possible to detect the opponent's breath. In this case, the transformed soul beasts will not appear in human sight. Uncle Kajin and Uncle Gu never felt it. How did Chuaner perceive that the other party was a soul beast? Tang San's purple extreme demon eyes have reached the realm of mustard seeds, and he naturally knows that Xiao Wu is a soul beast. Of course, he cannot let the other party take Xiao Wu away. Because that's my own sister. Qinchuan sneered and slowly stood up in front of Ning Rongrong. He slapped him casually and let out a scream, while Ning Rongrong flew directly into Ning Fengzhi's arms. Ning Rongrong was momentarily stunned, then couldn't help but cry, "Wu-wu, Dad, I'm in so much pain, Wu-wu." His seeing Ning Fengzhi and others here, they were all confused. Even Sword Douluo couldn't help but stand up and looked at Ning Rongrong, who was bleeding from being slapped, feeling a bit reluctant. Anyway, Ning Rongrong has also called him his grandfather for over a decade. Now that he sees the other person being photographed and flown out, he instinctively raises his right hand. But in the end, it was released. The most heartbreaking thing is undoubtedly not Ning Fengzhi, who is his own biological daughter and also the pearl in his palm. Now that she has been beaten, she is lying directly in her arms and crying bitterly. This father is also touching her. "Chuaner, are you a bit too extreme?" Ning Fengzhi stood up and stared at Chen Chuan in front of him with a hint of anger. The originally calm cheeks were now filled with thick resentment. "As the little princess of the 7 Treasures Glass sect, I speak ill of my brother in public for the sake of an outsider. Uncle Ning, do you think I should have no problem educating her?" Ning Fengzhi clenched the scepter in his hand, his eyes flickering with coldness. Subconsciously, he looked at Jian Douluo, only to find that he only sighed and didn't say much blame. After returning from Chuaner, Jian Shu and Gu Shu's hearts returned to him. When Qinchuan was first born, the 2 titled Douluo were very fond of him. Now that they have been missing for so many years, when they return again, Sword Douluo and Bone Douluo naturally feel a bit guilty towards their own Chuaner. The law of the fittest is true. Besides, the value of a 100,000-year-old soul beast must be clear to you, isn't it, Grandpa? Qinchuan turned around and looked at his grandfather, saying. Jian Douluo nodded, realizing that the 100,000-year-old soul beasts in the entire starry forest were extremely precious, even reaching a rare existence. The Douluo Continent has been passed down for countless years, but the number of soul beasts is gradually decreasing, resulting in a scarcity of soul beasts over 50,000 years old on the continent. Soul beasts over 100,000 years ago are unimaginable, almost reaching the level of extinction. As a titled Douluo, he deeply knows how difficult it is to obtain a 100,000-year soul ring. Throughout my life, even if I become a titled Douluo, I don't have a 100,000-year soul ring. Chuaner, are you saying that Shrek Academy is hiding a 100,000-year-old soul beast? Sword Douluo quickly walked forward and asked curiously. Turning around again, Chen Chuan smiled as he looked at Tang San with bloodshot eyes and his incompetent and roaring expression. Sure enough, it's really satisfying to torture him. Before crossing over, he still remembered, and it is also the most popular passage today. There is a medicine elder in the endless fire domain, and there is no Jade Xiaojiang in the divine realm. Character is still very important. It is natural for him to kill soul beasts, and for others to kill soul beasts is to create evil. This kind of person is really disgusting. Soul beasts and humans are inherently incompatible with water and fire. Looking at the history of the entire Douluo Continent, when soul beasts see humans, they only kill without mercy. I'll come with you. As the sound sounded, the door suddenly opened, and Xiao, who had already shed tears, came into view. She had heard all the previous words, and as she wanted to escape, she recalled what her third brother had done for her. She resolutely returned to Shrek College. Xiao. Brother. Xiao saw Tang San with blood on his face and immediately ran over, hugging Tang San's head with heartache. Douluo Rongrong looked up and down at the little girl in front of her, raised her eyebrows and asked, Chuaner, this girl has a plain aura and is a soul lord. But why do you say she is a soul beast? As titled Douluo, they can immediately see the clues at a glance, and naturally feel the aura emanating from Xiao's body. How do you look at it? It's all one person. Douluo also furrowed his brows. If Chuaner was mistaken, Fengzhi might go berserk directly at him. Chuan walked over calmly, his fingers twitching slightly, and at the same time, a flower and plant hidden in Xiao's chest appeared out of thin air in everyone's sight. That is an ordinary-looking white flower, the size of a palm, resembling a peony, without leaves, and connected to a large stone under the rhizome. End of this chapter. Chapter 8. Is she a soul beast? Seeking collection, seeking follow-up reading. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8. Is she a soul beast? Seeking collection, seeking follow-up reading. Above that white flower, there were several astonishing reds, as bright as blood, giving people a somewhat heart-stirring feeling. Without the concealment of lovesickness and heartbreak, Xiao's aura of a soul beast that had been around for 10,000 years also overflowed. Feeling the breath inside the latter's body, the two titled Douluo suddenly shrank their pupils and took a step forward, their eyes flickering with surprise. Surprisingly, it is truly a 100,000-year-old soul beast. Upon seeing the expressions of the two uncles, Ning Fengzhi indirectly knew that this girl was truly a soul beast that had transformed into a human form for 100,000 years. I didn't expect that Shrek Academy has always hidden a 100,000-year-old soul beast, which is definitely a good thing. Whether it is a soul ring or a soul bone, for the title Douluo, they are all beneficial without any harm. Chen Chuan grabbed Xiao Wu's wrist and said calmly, Grandpa and Uncle Ning, let's go. Tang Sanmu's canthus was about to crack, and he let out a roar as he rushed towards Chen Chuan. Stop, let go of Xiao Wu. The sound was deafening, and the huge Haotian hammer fell in response. The strong wind it brought even messed up Chen Chuan's long white hair. Chen Chuan disdainfully extended a finger and forcefully blocked Tang San's full blow. Bold. Sword Douluo rushed forward quickly and slapped Tang San's cheek fiercely. His right cheek had rapidly swollen, forming a sharp contrast with his left cheek. In an instant, the strong force also caused Tang San's teeth to burst, and the blood in his mouth kept spitting out like a fountain. No, don't kill him. I'll go with you, I'll go with you. At this moment, Xiao Wu could no longer suppress the pain in her heart. She screamed with heart-wrenching cries, tears already wet her eyes, and she looked extremely pitiful. Douluo said coldly, if it weren't for your father's sake, today I would definitely have destroyed you. If you dare to commit any more offenses, you will definitely be executed without mercy. Chen Chuan glanced at Tang San lying on the ground, his face covered in blood, and then walked out of the room with Xiao Wu in big strides. If we don't kill him today and treat the enemy so easily, it would be too cheap for him. Sword Douluo and Bone Douluo looked at each other and also followed Chuaner, preparing to leave Shrek Academy together. Ning Fengzhi originally wanted to leave with Rongrong, but the latter didn't want to just leave the college like this. He didn't want his friends in the school to continue his cultivation here. The few people who had just left the conference room were stopped by several soul saints from Shrek Academy. The middle-aged man led by him appeared to be around 50 years old, and although he was not young, he had a strong physique. The face shape is very distinctive, with a slightly protruding chin, wide cheekbones, flat face, and a slightly hooked nose, which can be described as a shoe sole. Even with his eyes closed, he could tell a hint of cunning in his face. Wearing a pair of black-framed crystal glasses on his face, the frames are rigid and square, giving off a strange feeling. This person is the Dean of Shrek College, Fran. Fran took a step forward and looked at the teary little dance on his face. He then slightly bowed and saluted, respectfully saying, "Respected Lord Ning, why did you take our student away?" Ning Fengzhi politely replied, "Dean Fran, this little girl has a special identity, so I will take her back. I hope you can understand." Special. Master Ning, Xiao Wu is a disciple of our Shrek Academy. Even if you take it away, you should still tell us. The person who spoke was a middle-aged uncle in his 40s or 50s. The black short hair is divided into 3 or 7 parts, with a very ordinary appearance. With both hands behind his back, he has a special temperament on his body, and his eyes open and close with a hint of laziness and decadence. This person is Tang San's teacher and also the mentor of Shrek Academy, known as the Master of Smart Leaders, Yu Xiaojiang. Yu Xiaojiang currently doesn't know about Xiao San's situation. He thought it was for some reason that Xiao Wu offended Lord Ning, which was why he was taken away from Shrek Academy. The mischievous master of Xiao Wu is also quite clear that it is easy to do such things. Four-eyed cat eagle martial soul, level 78, truly deserving of being Fran, who was the main warrior in the Golden Iron Triangle at the time, truly has extraordinary cunning. Qinchuan spoke slowly. "Are you?" Fran asked subconsciously. "The people of the Qin family, the Dust River." Fran tried to recall the name of this person, but no matter how he thought about it, he had never heard of Qinchuan. In Douluo Continent. I believe he must be an unknown person. However, since he is a member of the Seven Treasures Glass sect, Dean Fran naturally finds it difficult to get angry. He can only first inquire about the reason and what exactly happened. Apologize and apologize. "Master, look at what they've done to the mistress." At this moment, Dai Mubai, one of the 7 monsters of Shrek, came out holding Tang Sanchong, who was no longer an adult. He was furious and wanted to scold the Seven Treasures Glass sect for their actions. "Xiao San." Dean Fran's face also changed, and he quickly walked forward, looking at Tang San, who had no teeth. He also turned his head sharply to look at the people of the Seven Treasures Glass sect. He was originally about to speak, but was stopped by the master. The other party had 2 titled Douluo. If he angered them, Shrek Academy today would surely perish. The master bowed with grievances and said, "Master Ning, do you need to give us a reasonable explanation?" Ning Fengzhi sighed and turned his head to look at Qinchuan. "Let him personally solve this matter." Qinchuan nodded in understanding and snorted coldly when he saw the master's angry gaze. "Do you want to know why? Then why don't you ask your disciple? If she's just a student of Shrek Academy, why should I catch her? But if she's a humanoid soul beast, I have ample reason to take her down." "What are you saying?" The master exclaimed in shock and turned around to look at Xiao Wu. Everyone at Shrek Academy also showed extremely frightened expressions. Xiao Wu is actually a 100,000-year-old soul beast. How could this be possible? The master's expression was also quite ugly. Of course, he knew what a 100,000-year soul beast meant, but it was a walking 100,000-year soul ring and soul bone. If he knew, he would probably have trapped Xiao Wu and Tang San to death before they met. After waiting for Tang San to need a soul ring, he would have killed him. In this way, one's own disciple will possess a 100,000-year soul ring. The master clenched his fist and said, "Senior, although Xiao Wu is a soul beast with a history of 100,000 years, she is also a student of our Shrek Academy. You also need our consent, right? And this is the mistress's sister, his father is a presence that you can't afford to provoke." Pa. End of this chapter. Chapter 9. Master and Apprentice Beat, Seeking Collection, Seeking Follow-up Reading. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9 Master and Apprentice Beat, Seeking Collection, Seeking Follow-up Reading. Chen Chuan rudely slapped the master Yu Xiaojiang in the face. Yu Xiaojiang couldn't resist the sudden attack and flew out on the spot. Puff. Although the master has already broken through the Soul Lord at this time, he is undoubtedly not seeking his own death in front of the title Douluo. The master was beaten, and Dean Frand couldn't sit still. He immediately stepped heavily on the ground with his right foot, and the 7 soul rings on his body suddenly emerged. Yellow, yellow, purple, purple, black, black, black. Frand took off his glasses on his face, and his radiance appeared as if it were a shadow. However, even so, he appeared particularly insignificant in front of several major title Douluo. The rest of Shrek Academy also released their martial souls without hesitation, watching the colorful soul rings flicker, and Gu Rong just sneered. With this power, one can make it fly to ashes with just one finger. Chen Chuan disdainfully glanced at the students and teachers at Shrek College, then shrugged and said, "Dean Frand, I think your cultivation is not easy and I don't want to be against you. Otherwise, the Shrek College you have worked hard to establish will really be destroyed." Frand gritted his teeth tightly. Although he didn't take any action, he could feel the opponent's killing intent constantly rising. If it reaches its peak, the teachers of Shrek College today will undoubtedly die. Stop. The master struggled to get up and immediately stopped Dean Flanders, who wanted to take action. Although feeling a bit embarrassed, it may be the master's mission to bend and stretch, spitting out a mouthful of saliva mixed with blood and deeply exhaling a hot airway. "Frand, aren't you dying anymore? The other party is a title Douluo. If you want to die, don't bring the children." The master stared at him with copper bell-like eyes, and his heart was also clear that the young man in his teens before him was not an ordinary soul master, but a person who had reached level 90 or above and was title Douluo. Apart from being title Douluo, he couldn't imagine anyone who could take action against him in front of Frand and others. Master is really knowledgeable about current affairs. Since that's the case, I will bid farewell first and will visit Shrek College in the future. After Chen Chuan smiled twice, he disappeared into place with Xiao Wu out of thin air, leaving only a lingering chill in the air. Sword Douluo, Bone Douluo, and Ning Fengzhi also disappeared, and with their strength, space teleportation was more than enough. Tang San struggled to stand up and said with red eyes, "I, Tang San, will never die with your 7 treasures of the glass sect." As he spoke, Tang San's gaze turned to Ning Rongrong, who was treating him, and he immediately stepped forward, slapping her in the face. Ning Rongrong was also stunned, sitting on the ground with his face covered, looking at Tang San, who had already turned red. She didn't even want to believe that third brother would treat her like this. Is this still the man in her heart? Are you crazy, mistress? As a pursuer of Ning Rongrong, Oscar rushed forward and pushed Tang San away, saying somewhat angrily, "This was not done by Rongrong. Why are you hitting her?" Oscar ignored the opinions of others and immediately summoned his recovery sausage, handing it to Ning Rongrong and saying, "Rongrong, are you okay?" At this moment, Ning Rongrong couldn't help but cry and knocked over the recovery sausage handed over by Oscar, running towards the direction outside the college without looking back. I could only hear the sound of a young girl crying. Oscar glared at Tang San and immediately chased after him, leaving only the guidance of those around him. Tang Sen actually raised a soul beast and even beat up the little princess of the Seven Treasures Glass sect. It's really not human. Yes, soul beasts that have been around for 100,000 years are rare in the entire Douluo Continent. It's a pity that they were captured today. Keep your voice down, be careful if they say you have a way to take death. Listening to the sound in his ear, Tang Sen finally couldn't bear the heaviness brought by his chest. Qi and blood attacked his heart, and he immediately spewed out a mouthful of crimson blood, falling unconscious on the ground. Seven Treasure Glass Sect, in a quiet room. Chen Chuan threw Xiao Wu onto the ground and looked at her dense eyes, then casually slapped her back. Under the crisp slap, Xiao Wu also lay on the ground, feeling dizzy and crying silently. Xiao Wu, right. You need to pay attention to your identity. If you provoke me, I don't mind pulling out your soul bones. Xiao Wu remained silent, lowered her head and remained silent, just lying on the ground wiping away her tears. Chen Chuan did not take any more action against her. Currently, he does not need a soul ring or soul bone. Killing her now would not be of much use, and even indirectly waste a 100,000-year soul ring. Sitting on the bed, Chen Chuan looked at the book in his hand and didn't know how long it had been before he shifted his head to Xiao Wu lying on the ground. He also frowned and said, "How long do you plan to stay? Go make me a pot of tea. The tea is in the cabinet, go find it yourself." Xiao Wu raised her head to look at Chen Chuan, stood up somewhat aggrieved, and under his arrangement, she personally brewed a pot of hot tea and placed it on the small table next to the bed. "Senior, you have become a titled Douluo and possess a 100,000-year soul ring. Why do you still want to catch me?" he asked in a low voice. "There has always been no reason for this seat to do things. You just need to remember that if this seat needs a soul ring, then you must unconditionally dedicate it." The cold and icy voice of Chen Chuan rang out leisurely, without even looking at Xiao Wu, indicating that in his eyes, this woman was just a tool to enhance his own strength. "Of course, don't have any thoughts of running away. Even if you can leave here, there are still 2 titled Douluo in the Seven Treasures and Glass sect outside, and you can't leave the sect. Besides, you don't want Tang San to have anything to do you?" After hearing the words, Tang San, Xiao Wu also panicked. She immediately knelt on the ground with red eyes and said, "I understand. Please don't kill San Gu. I can do whatever you want me to do, as long as I don't take action against the students at Shrek College." Chen Chuan chuckled lightly. It was already this time. This girl was thinking about the students at Shrek College. Did she praise her intelligence or her foolishness? But that's also good, it saves her from running around. From now on, you will live here, lie down with this seat, eat together, and do whatever this seat asks you to do, without saying a word no. In order to prevent Tang Hao from coming to the Seven Treasures Glass sect to snatch Xiao Wu, the safest way is to arrange for him to be by his side. If he finds something wrong, he can be killed directly. Xiao Wu could feel the faint murderous aura emanating from the former's body, and her delicate cheeks were also frightened pale. It seems to correspond to that sentence, "Accompanying you is like accompanying a tiger." End of this chapter. Chapter 10. Ning Fengzhi's Choice, Seeking Collection and Pursuing Reading. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10 Ning Fengzhi's Choice, Seeking Collection and Pursuing Reading. The next morning, the flowing light shone brightly. Chen Chuan, who arrived at the main hall of the Seven Treasures Glass sect, couldn't help but ask curiously, "Grandpa, do you call me?" In the spacious hall, Sword Douluo and Bone Douluo had been waiting for a long time. It seemed that Chuaner walked in with a strange smile. "Chuaner, you're here." Chen Chuan nodded and sat down on a chair, asking, "What's wrong?" "Hurriedly call me over." Jian Douluo also asked directly, "Chuaner, what do you plan to do with that 100,000-year-old soul beast?" "At present, let her follow me and obtain her soul ring and soul bone when needed." Chen Chuan answered without hesitation. Xiao Wu was originally in his bag, but she hasn't figured out how to use it yet, so she left it in the Seven Treasures Glass sect for now. Without her own command, she doesn't have the right to leave this place for half a step. Sword Douluo and Bone Douluo exchanged glances and also nodded. The 100,000-year soul beast is too precious, and it would be a great pity to kill it recklessly. It should be kept in captivity. If Chuaner had his own offspring in the future, he would kill it. Or perhaps she was forced to sacrifice and integrate into the martial soul of her offspring. Ning Fengzhi nodded with a scepter in hand, and if Rongrong needed it in the future, he could also hand over the 100,000-year soul ring to Rongrong. In this case, in the future, after abdication, Rongrong's strength can also make the strong members of the sect subdue the masses. Gu Douluo Gu Rong frowned and said, Fengzhi, is that kid really Tang Hao's son? Ning Fengzhi raised his head and said, there shouldn't be anything wrong. I never expected Tang Hao to be able to cultivate this outstanding disciple after leaving Haotian sect. Upon hearing these words, Gu Rong furrowed his brow even more and said in a somewhat gloomy voice, the Haotian sect was already superior to the Seven Treasures and Glass sect. Now that he has offended Tang Hao, if we allow this child to grow up, it may become a significant threat. Jian Douluo also nodded, and indeed, they all saw what had happened not long ago. Although Chuaner was a bit reckless, he obtained a 100,000-year soul beast, but indirectly offended that guy Tang Hao. We should eradicate the root cause, otherwise there will be endless troubles ahead. Ning Fengzhi lowered his voice and said, Uncle Bone, don't say anything more in the future. Although the status of the Haotian sect is higher than that of the Seven Treasures and Glass sect, the three previous sects have always been united, and we have no reason to have any grudges with them. Moreover, Rongrong's martial soul evolved because of him. Although he may have some grudges, the attraction of soul beasts is really too great. Let's wait and see. Speaking of which, Ning Fengzhi exhaled a breath of heat. In fact, he didn't want to be enemies with Haotian sect, but the attraction of the soul beast for 100,000 years had already surpassed everything. If Haotian Emperor really wants to take action, he will also accompany him to the end. The value of the title Douluo, which has a soul ring of 100,000 years, can be imagined. Fengzhi, but if this child becomes a title Douluo in the future, our Seven Treasures Glass sect will have no chance of turning over again. Gu Rong's words also make some sense. Although Ning Fengzhi holds a high position, he is not arrogant and treats people very gently, especially when it comes to geniuses. He treats them with courtesy and does not hold the airs of the top three sections. Although she loves her daughter, when there are outstanding young people, Ning Fengzhi will consider sacrificing her daughter's marriage to win her over. But for those who are eager for talent, Ning Fengzhi's first consideration will be assassination if they cannot be used for their own purposes and will threaten the sect. He just didn't want to offend the giant Haotian sect because of this. They only took Xiao away and did not kill Tang San, which means they did not want to be enemies with him. If it caused unnecessary trouble, it was a compensation wish. Ning Fengzhi looked at the empty room with a sense of disappointment and said, compared to the situation on the mainland, what are the grievances of the sect? When I was young, the mainland was filled with wind and clouds, and conflicts could be seen everywhere. However, in the past 20 years, such conflicts have all disappeared, and the whole continent is terrifyingly quiet. Although I have only found some clues, these signs indicate that the situation on the mainland will undergo earth-shattering changes. Our Seven Treasures Glass sect needs to become stronger in order to protect the future of our sect. Chen Chuan took a sip of the tea channel and said, it's just a bunch of ragtag people for just Haotian sect. Don't pay attention. In the face of absolute strength, all cooperation is nothing but a fleeting attempt to shake the tree. Therefore, only by becoming stronger oneself can one truly be strong. Otherwise, one will always have to live behind someone else's buttocks, and it will become a soft persimmon that everyone wants to pinch. In this case, the ultimate outcome is destruction. The Seven Treasures Glass sect is too indecisive. Since they have already offended, why not take action and instead allow the other party to attack their own family? Only then did they suddenly realize that they could not succeed. Chen Chuan is not that foolish. When he offended Tang San, he had already left a drop of his own blood in the latter's body, which would constantly erode the other person's body, causing them to endure countless arrows piercing through their hearts every day. This pain will not last too long, but it will continue until he falls, and it cannot be undone unless he drinks Bloody Mary for 10 years. However, with Tang San's personality, he believed that the Bloody Mary was like drinking poison to quench thirst, and naturally wouldn't touch that kind of thing. Therefore, if he wanted to break his curse, he had to wait for him to fall. Tormenting the enemy is the best outcome. Chuaner, you need to be careful recently. No one can guarantee that Tang Hao's little brat will appear in the Kendo Empire. Sword Douluo said with concern, but he couldn't guarantee that Tang Hao would come to seek revenge, so he was also worried that Chuaner would be injured as a result. However, Chen Chuan smiled faintly. According to the original plot, Tang Hao was not in the Heavenly Dou Empire at this time. However, even if he knew about this, he probably wouldn't dare to rashly enter the Seven Treasures and Glass Sect. It is not a wise choice to offend 3 Douluo titles above level 95. Even if Tang Hao's strength is strong, it is not easy to defeat Kendo Qinshin and Bone Douluo Gurong on his own. Moreover, now Qinchuan doesn't care at all about that guy. If he comes, he will handle it together. It's okay, Grandpa. You just need to manage the affairs of your sect well, and the rest are just minor matters. Qinshin sighed and immediately said, Chuaner, since you came back, your Bone Grandpa and I have noticed that your murderous aura is too serious. Well, there is a noble school in the Kendo Empire. Go and relax yourself. Oh. Chen Chuan casually put down his teacup and looked at Jian Douluo, saying, I don't know where that place is. Yu Xian. End of this chapter.